For a little while now, I've gotten a bunch of comments from people asking me to check out the Lego Batman movie. And today, that's exactly what I'm gonna do. Just not that Lego Batman movie. This Lego Batman movie. Of course I'm talking about Batman Family Matters. Because if there's two things you all like hearing me talk about, it's both Batman and the show Family Matters. But rest assured, no one's getting shrunk or doing the Urkel in this one. Now what's important to note is that this isn't actually a sequel to the Lego Batman movie, nor does it have any affiliation with that movie whatsoever. It's a Lego Batman movie, but it's a different Lego Batman movie, with a different Lego Batman. And surprisingly, it also has no affiliation with the Lego Batman games. So just forget whatever you knew about Lego Batman altogether, because this is another Lego Batman. So I'm guessing there's a whole Lego multiverse out there that is yet to be explored. And whenever I feel like going down that building block rabbit hole, don't you worry, I will dive right in. This movie doesn't treat its content seriously, and it doesn't try to make its audience believe it does either. This is just some goofy fun with the Batman branding. And while it's not my personal favorite use of the character, I don't think there's anything wrong with it. Obviously, this movie and other movies under the Lego name are always going to be targeted primarily at a much younger audience. And I think that it's great that there's more Batman content out there that connects with people of all different ages. I like that I get to have my Batman, and the kids get to have their own Batman. So if you were expecting an in-depth deep dive into Batman's psyche, you may have picked up the wrong Batman movie. Like I said, this movie is geared toward children. But it's actually this movie's demographic that got me curious about its content.
Kids, what are you gonna do, huh?
Because really, how are you gonna make a Red Hood movie for kids? That's like trying to make a rated G show for the Punisher. How could you have such a hardcore character survive in a friendly, padded environment? Previously, Jason wasn't even allowed to appear in shows or movies, because he was the Robin that died. Comics were literally the only medium this character appeared in for years. And outside of the occasional passing joke in Teen Titans, you weren't really gonna hear about him. Yet now we've gotten to a point where we're acknowledging him in what essentially boils down to Batman for babies. Batman Family Matters has a surprising lineup of heroes and villains alike. Batman, Robin, Nightwing, Batgirl, and Batwoman make up the Bat family in this adventure. Although this makes me wonder, you've included everyone else in the Bat family, so where's Tim? Why is he the only one that didn't get any love? I mean, yeah, you forgot about Batwing, but everyone forgets about Batwing. Why'd you include all the other Robins but him? What is he up to? Where's he at? What is he doing? Why didn't he factor into Red Hood's diabolical scheme? During the movie's runtime, they go up against the likes of Two-Face, Red Hood, Brother Eye, Killer Croc, Solomon Grundy, Scarecrow, Penguin, and the Riddler. This movie has a lot of fun with its material. Its depiction of the characters and the dynamics of these characters is pretty spot on. And because of that, it properly highlights and mocks real aspects of all things DC. Taking these characters' characteristics, dialing them up while turning their depth down to two-dimensional, turns these characters into caricatures. They take Two-Face, the character that's always mentally at war with himself, and turn him into an indecisive idiot who spends more time physically arguing with himself out loud rather than taking out Batman. Two-Face is constantly getting in his own way, turning every one of his monologues into a divisive dialogue. They take Bruce Wayne, a man who has always struggled with his own double life. A man who lives his life as a billionaire playboy, only to take attention away from his nighttime passion of being a bat. And they turn him into a thrill-seeking, justice-obsessed nut who has a gross disinterest of anything outside his own cowl. He treats being Bruce Wayne like a teenager who's being forced to go to school. Every step of the way where Alfred's reminding him he has to have a public life, he's just like, do I have to? They take Alfred, who's Bruce Wayne's most trusted friend and father figure. The butler has been known to do anything and everything for him. Seriously, over the years, a lot of different iterations of this character show him doing everything from creating and programming new tech, to being Bruce's mechanic, training Bruce in hand-to-hand combat, provide information like a sentient computer. Honestly, the list just goes on and on. His skills are apparently limitless. So it really makes you wonder how someone with all of these skills landed on butler as his career. Makes you wonder how he learned all of this. Well, in this movie, it's because Bruce Wayne is always just throwing tasks and duties his way.
That's not something they taught us in butler school.
And Alfred learns how to do everything through how-to videos on YouTube. Or Red Hood, the angry anti-hero who doesn't play by the rules? Well, here he's just basically an edgy teenager who never grew up. A bratty, snot-nosed punk with a chip on his shoulder. He's like if "It's not a phase, Mom" really wasn't a phase. He's an angsty little twerp. The movie properly parodies his constant face and heel turns by having him switch from good to evil at the drop of a Game Boy. Literally. It took next to nothing to bring him back to the team. Batman figures out Red Hood's identity, and then he's just like, "Oh, alright, you got me." Damian is an annoying kid who's desperate to prove himself at any cost. A hyper-energetic child who's doing his best to look grown up. This movie draws a parallel between Jason Todd and Damian Wayne, with Nightwing alerting Bruce that Damian isn't Jason. And you're damn right he's not, nor will he ever be. How dare you make a comparison between my favorite Robin and my least favorite Robin? Even though it's an entirely reasonable thing to do, as they have a lot more in common than I'm willing to admit. But that's my point. This movie knows enough to spoof. The characters still seem like the characters, but those characters are now just being played for a punchline. To me, that is a million times more interesting than just taking an IP and doing something needlessly silly with it. This movie keeps it light, but there's some commentary through its comedy, and I appreciate that. When it's not mimicking or mocking its characters' greatest character traits, it's showcasing and spoofing the dynamics of the team. Like how crime fighting keeps getting in the way of Batgirl and Nightwing's relationship, with Batgirl being upset over an unanswered text message while they're out on patrol. Or how Batman is shown to be an overbearing parent over Damian, worrying that he's not ready to be Robin. This movie has fun with its characters and has fun with its tropes. It's a parody of all things Batman. Like the actual Lego Batman movie, this movie knows its characters well enough to make fun of them. This is obviously a very sanitized and child-friendly Batman story. So a lot of the edgier elements to the mythos are either dialed back or dulled down. Like, as opposed to having Jason return from the dead, this telling of the tale has him leave Batman in crime fighting because his adoptive father wouldn't let him play video games. And I gotta be honest with you, as a child, I ran away for less. I also normally wouldn't expect Brother Eye, the actively advancing AI gaining independence and looking to destroy its creator. Wouldn't normally expect that aspect to be in a movie made for third graders either, but here we are. The movie has fun with its IP. And because of that, I have a little fun watching it. There are some genuinely funny moments in this movie.
Mr. Wayne, a few words, please.
Thank you for coming.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Wayne.
Honestly, I thought he'd be taller.
Which is weird because we're all the same size.
Including how to escape the watchful eye of our formerly most trusted security protocol, Ace. I'm here, just taking a nap. These billionaires, so lazy.
Okay, I buy it.
I've sold my company to concentrate on crime fighting full-time.
You what? What? Tell me that doesn't affect the trust funds you've set up, right?
And outside of the comedy, there's still a whole lot to love. It's not often that we see this much of the Bat family working together as a team. At least not in the movies. It's this and Batman Bad Blood. That's it. It's nice seeing all these characters fighting side by side, even if it is in Lego form. Their interactions and banter is always fun to watch no matter what the movie's rated. I think what surprised me most about this movie is just how much it references. I found myself Easter egg hunting while watching a movie that was made for 8-year-olds. And there's a good chunk of them. Batgirl's insecurities coming up when Starfire's mentioned. Beware the Grey Ghost playing in movie theaters. A young Billy Batson pre-Shazam to make several appearances. And they even mentioned that Jason has once stole the tires off the Batmobile. The attention to details of a more extended universe makes me think that this movie was invented for children and their very nerdy parents. Also, I don't know if it's just me, it's just weird to me how little them being Legos actually factors into the plot. Like, did this movie really need the Legos logo? Or hell, was it their initial idea? This could have very easily been another Batman Unlimited. There's like 2 scenes where it comes up that they're made out of Lego pieces, and then that's it. Really not integral to the plot whatsoever. The movie's cast is pretty impressive as well, bringing back a lot of famous Batman voice actors from other projects. Troy Baker, the voice of the Joker in Arkham Origins, Red Hood in Arkham Knight, Two-Face in Arkham City, Nightwing in Injustice, and Batman in the Telltale games and Batman Meets the Ninja Turtles, returns to the role of the Dark Knight here. Scott Menville, who's most famous for voicing another Robin in Teen Titans, now plays the youngest Robin and Batman's son, Damian Wayne. Will Friedle, who provided the voice for Terry McGinnis in Batman Beyond, is once again playing Dick Grayson Nightwing, just as he did in Batman Ninja. Tara Strong, who originally played Batgirl in the new Batman Adventures, and has since taken over the role of Harley Quinn in just about everything, this time around lends her voice to the role of Batwoman. Allison Stoner, who played Batgirl on Young Justice, plays Batgirl here. And Tom Kenny is back yet again to provide his voice for the Penguin, which isn't all that surprising as he's really become the official voice of Penguin. Overall, I think the movie is pretty cute. I don't think it's going to make anyone's list for the best Batman movies of all time, but it's a harmless, more goofy take on the world of Batman. It's a Batman movie that's appropriate for ages 1 through 101. And so long as you're going into this knowing that you're watching a Batman movie made by a Fisher-Price competitor company, I think almost anyone can watch this and enjoy themselves.
I'm Superman, he's Batman.
Are those last names?
Just one name each.
Like Madonna.
I've previously spoke about the other Lego Batman movie, but today I'm here to talk about the other Lego Batman movie. Yes, there is another, sort of, kind of. Well, you know, we'll get into that in a minute. What's really interesting is that this Lego Batman movie isn't tied into the Lego Batman movie, or even the other Lego Batman movie. This one is a separate Lego Batman movie. Yes, some of the models may look the same, and some of the characters may even be voiced by some of the same actors, but make no mistake, this is its own Lego Batman movie. Lego Batman, the movie, DC Superheroes Unite. What a complicated title for such a basic Batman story. Although what's less basic is trying to identify what this movie is. At first, I was shocked that I never heard about this before. But then I was even more shocked when I learned what exactly this movie was. This movie, in actuality, is a series of in-game scenes from the video game Lego Batman 2 DC Superheroes. Except where gameplay was, is now replaced with new scenes added to fill those slots. So this is basically the same experience as that game, minus the fun of actually playing it. And I've never played that game, so I can't really compare and contrast these two, but I imagine something more interactive would have probably been more entertaining. What I think is most interesting about this alleged movie is its voice cast. It's clear that this is a Batman for a much younger audience, so they didn't really need to go out of their way to get the heavy hitters, but they did anyway. Clancy Brown is once again lending his dark and menacing vocals to the role of Lex Luthor, reprising his one-of-a-kind performance from Superman the Animated Series, as well as the Justice League shows. I mean, this guy just brings such a powerful performance to a 3D animated plastic construction toy. Troy Baker once again plays the gruff-sounding Man of Two Minds Two-Face, returning to the role that he played in the Arkham series. And much like Clancy Brown, there isn't a major difference in his portrayal of the character there and his portrayal of the character here. Neither one of these two actors has toned down their performance to better suit a movie about building blocks. They feel all too real and adult in this fictional kids movie. And I'm gonna be real with you, it feels really strange and off-putting hearing these very serious and mature-sounding performances once again coming out of building blocks. This would be like if Shakespeare was read by Fisher-Price people. They feel more than just a little bit out of place. That's not to say anything bad about the actors portraying them, it's because what I'm really saying is, is that they're too good for the material that they're given. Troy Baker is also once again playing Batman, just as he did in Family Matters. And like he did in Family Matters, he's kinda acting like a dick. Grayson. I know I sort of tiptoed around this performance in my Batman Family Matters review, but at least then I could. In here, it's much more blatantly obvious how much of a jerk the Dark Knight is. But what's really puzzling is I'm not sure what they were going for here, because there are multiple instances of him acting stuck up or generally rude. And it's not even played for laughs, it's just played. He shuts down Robin time and time again. He gives Superman the super cold shoulder on multiple occasions, and he's just, overall, hard to love. I'm not sure who made the call to make Batman unlikable, but suffice it to say, it was a really bad call. In comparison to the rest of the Rogues Gallery, the Joker voice in this feels much more appropriate for what this movie is. As a PG outing, this Joker feels much more zany and wacky and in line with the Joker from the 1960s show. Although I will say Rob Paulsen makes for a really good Riddler, and I would not mind seeing him utilized in the role again to a greater capacity. I would very much like to see that. Unlike in the Lego Batman movie, which gives us an orphan that looks like Carrie Kelly but has the name of the first Boy Wonder, and also unlike Batman Family Matters, which gave us Damian Wayne as Robin, Jason Todd as Red Hood, and Dick Grayson as Nightwing, this time around it's Tim Drake in the Robin role. And he's portrayed almost like a combination of the Robins from the other two Lego films. He's eager and over-energized like Damian, but is desperate to prove himself like his Lego Batman counterpart. In terms of story, it's a pretty standard setup. Joker and Lex Luthor team up to go after their arch-nemesis, Batman and Superman. Nemesis? Nemesi? Nemesis. Never mind, let me move on. One group bonds and learns how to work together as a team, while the other is consumed by infighting. Throw in a giant Joker mech and a last-minute Justice League cameo, and that's it. That's the movie. You have experienced all there is to experience. When I say this movie is really basic, I mean not only in terms of plot, but also in terms of its depiction of its characters. Everyone is very one-note. It's like they took one perception of the characters and made that one perception the character. A lot of these guys are boiled down to one quality apiece. And that's the ones who are lucky enough to have that. That's development for some characters. On top of that, I don't think they did a really great job in explaining the dynamics of this universe. There's never a pairing that feels particularly interesting or noteworthy. Absolutely none of the interactions are memorable. I don't think any of the core dynamics have dynamics. Batman is vaguely annoyed by Superman, Lex Luthor is very annoyed by the Joker, and that's it. That's all you get. Nothing really happens. And that's really how I feel about the movie. Nothing really happens. Now I want to make this clear, I'm talking exclusively about the movie in my critiques. The game could be a completely different experience. Yes, they share the same skin, but their innards are completely different. Maybe more authentic and character-developing moments occurred during gameplay. Maybe more memorable lines were spoken and characters were better established in dialogue when the player is playing. Maybe these relationships and dynamics were more fleshed out with the controller. Or maybe the game is the exact same and I should take it at face value because ultimately this was a game made for kids and this is a movie made for a game made for kids. All of those things are very possible. I don't know. I can't speak on the video game's behalf. But in terms of the movie's adaptation of the video game, yeah, I don't know, not so great. The last 10 minutes of the film do have a really surprising jump in quality though. The Joker's Transformer versus the Justice League is the obvious highlight of the movie, no question. And the eventual Brainiac stinger at the end, I can't help but love because he is in fact one of my favorite Superman characters. I will say, I didn't expect to mildly enjoy myself by the end of the movie. But there was definitely a turnaround in like the last 10 minutes or so. It was a fun, fitting end. But I just don't know if the hour getting there was worth it. What really astounds me here is that this game was thought so fondly of that they decided to piece together cutscenes and call it a movie. I mean, this game is in fact a sequel. There was another Lego Batman movie in the lineup, but where's that one's adaptation? You don't see anyone making a movie based on the game, based on a toy brand, based on a cartoon comic book character for that entry in the series, now do you? Right, they went right to Lego Batman 2. Like, they must have really believed in this product and thought the general public needed to see this story play out. They needed to break past the gaming market and reach out to regular consumers, everyday Joes and Jills, to come see this Batman extravaganza. But the truth of the matter is, it's meh. It's just very meh. This Lego Batman movie is inoffensively dull and bland in its presentation. It was hard to engage with. And yeah, it's definitely geared to a much younger audience that I'm not a part of, but that doesn't really speak for quality now, does it? Batman Family Matters was geared toward that same audience, maybe arguably an even younger one, and I still found that to be a worthwhile watch. This one just didn't do it for me. I don't think this is a bad movie by any means, but I think it's unforgivingly forgettable. It was hard for me to try to get invested in this, but I don't think it's a slap in the face to the source or insulting to its fan base. This is harmless enough for a baby's first Batman. I think if you're a big Batman fan, then there's a little fun to be had here in the subtle nods they make to other continuities. Like having Batman fight off a shark while dangling from a ladder of a helicopter. Where have I seen that before? Or when the movie parodies direct lines of dialogue from the 1989 Batman movie. Having Lex Luthor once again run for president. But my personal favorite moment had to come when Batman and Superman switched Lego parts to assume each other's identity, as has been done many times over. And there's even this one funny line of dialogue which I completely relate to.
Robin's still around. If we eliminate Batman, Robin will probably put on the suit and say he's Batman.
Won't be the same.
Not to mention that this movie's soundtrack uses musical cues from some of the most famous Batman and Superman movies. While this movie wasn't for me personally, I wouldn't necessarily recommend against watching it. If you're a parent and your kid wants to watch Batman, sit him down and show him this. It's not the worst place to start. But if you're a Batman fan and you're looking for new recommendations, maybe skip this one, or watch at your own risk.
Batman works alone. That's my motto. Copyright Batman.
Seeing as I talked about just about every other Lego Batman movie, it stands to reason that now is an opportune time to talk about the Lego Batman movie. I held off on making this review for quite a while, mainly because there's so much to talk about with this one. This movie is the perfect parody of all things Batman. It never disrespects the brand, but it spends its runtime lovingly mocking the sillier aspects of the mythos and paying tribute to the general canon. It's all about fan service. This thing is a love letter to all things Batman. It consists of references to past films and characters, even going into some of the more obscure corners of Batman history. The whole experience feels like an exercise in Easter egg hunting, and that is not a complaint, just so we're clear. I love it for that. The references are both of quality and quantity, and you don't have to be a Batman nerd to catch on. For the most part, the main Easter eggs are self-explanatory, and then the gazillion of little other ones are background pieces that don't need further explanation. If I took the time and tried to list every callback, I would still probably miss out on most of them. This movie is chock full of hidden history and loving jabs at anything and everything that came before it. There's something there for everyone. Batman fans, Superman fans, they even give love to some of the less fondly remembered Super Friends. There's references to every Batman big screen continuity, with a lot of nods especially to the original 60s show. The Batmobile's horn is the 66 theme. And if that wasn't enough for you, Batman also sings that song a little bit later.
No.
No. When Alfred dons a batsuit, it's actually the suit from the Adam West series.
Rip. Alfred, what are you doing?
I miss the 60s.
Strangely enough, when Alfred does get his own specific costume later on, it's basically Kato's from Green Hornet. The Batcomputer even quotes the 66 show whenever the Batmobile's about to boot up.
Batteries to power, turbines to speed.
Bat shark repellent is used, much like it is in the 66 movie. And during fight scenes, accompanying visual sound effects appear on the screen, much like they do in that original series as well. Batman literally quotes his 1989 counterpart.
You wanna get nuts? Come on, let's get nuts.
Harley's outfit says Smilex on it, which is Joker's drug of choice in the 1989 Batman movie. There's even a little bit of love and attention given to the other Lego Batman continuities. Like when Batman demasks, his hair is slicked back like his other Lego Batman design, before it poofs back out and gives him the look that he'll have for the rest of the movie. And when they're not lovingly paying tribute to what came before, they're actively taking jabs at it. Like having Batman mock the very concept of the Suicide Squad, before inevitably actually running with that exact idea at the end of the movie.
What am I gonna do? Get a bunch of criminals together to fight the criminals? That's a stupid idea.
Superman gets plenty of love with them replaying a fight scene from Superman 2 with Zod, though strangely enough attributing it to Zack Snyder. And the doorbell to the Fortress of Solitude is John Williams' Superman theme. Even some of the movie's cast are references in of themselves. Billy D. Williams, who portrayed District Attorney Harvey Dent in 1989's Batman, reprises his role here, with this movie finally giving him a chance to properly portray Two-Face. And yes, the character doesn't get a lot of lines. And yeah, he's really only playing the part as a reference of itself, and maybe to right a couple of wrongs in the background, but it was still a very welcome addition to the movie. And little details like that just make me love and appreciate the final product that much more. They even got Zoe Kravitz to play Catwoman, 5 years before she'd take on the role again in The Batman. Look at that, that's an early Easter egg right there. That is a retroactive reference. I've heard of callbacks, but they're doing call forwards. That's like some next level stuff. Another great case of a call forward in this movie is the running joke of snake clowns, which are allegedly Batman's greatest fear, which everyone reassures him do not exist. And only 2 years later, snake clowns would be brought into Batman lore in Batman vs. the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, where the Joker turned into a giant clown snake. Bane is of course the constantly parodied Bane from Dark Knight Rises, both in terms of appearance and performance, with comedian Doug Benson in the role, who got the part for the Bane impression he'd do on his podcast.
Sure, some of you have been driven crazy by my Bane impression. I love to do Bane. They can't live outside of the shadows.
Members of the League of Shadows. And you betrayed us.
Bane is feeling warm and fuzzy.
I also like that they gave him the original Bane's mask, but Tom Hardy's everything else. Similarly, Penguin takes on the appearance of his 1992 big screen counterpart. What I find interesting about this movie's Batman is that while he's given the classic Michael Keaton look, it seems like Will Arnett is sort of parodying Christian Bale's Dark Knight, at least in terms of vocal performance.
So, guys, listen up. Taking the projector from the Joker is gonna be our most dangerous mission. I'm Batman.
In that same vein, Lego Robin is the first boy wonder Dick Grayson, yet he takes on the appearance of the first ever girl boy wonder, Carrie Kelly. It's certainly an interesting choice, especially when seeing the Dark Knight stand side by side with the other half of the dynamic duo, who looks like he's straight out of the 60s. The cast is perfect. They got all the right people in all the right parts. Each and every actor is correctly cast. There's not a bad performance in the bunch. Will Arnett portrays a Batman unlike any other Batman who's come before, and yet still not one that's completely unfamiliar. It's a much more satirical take on the stoic, stern protector of Gotham City, but being as this is a parody, yeah, of course it is. This Batman is so self-involved that he's quick to lose the plot, which, to be fair, isn't entirely unlike what he's parodying. Sure, I don't know how selfish I can call a man who selflessly devoted his life to fighting crime at every corner, but the Batman I know is one who neglects his personal life, and at times, even those closest to him. Whereas this Batman struggles to see past a mirror, the Batman which he's based on struggles to see past a mission. Suffice it to say, he doesn't have the same set of skills in a social situation as he does in combat circumstances. I really like that even in his private life when nobody else is around, he refuses to remove the cowl, only taking it off when he needs to make public appearances as Bruce Wayne, which feels very on brand for the character that I know. Plenty of people have said it before, myself included, but it bears repeating. Bruce Wayne is the mask, and Batman is the man. This takes that notion and makes it about as on the nose as you can make it. Batman literally refers to himself as Batman when he's with or without company. He dresses like Batman even when there's no one around to see him. That's because Batman really isn't his disguise. Bruce Wayne is. He has no desire to be Bruce Wayne. As a matter of fact, it's usually Alfred who's the driving force in trying to bring Bruce back to reality. The situation is the same here. The way the movie depicts Bruce's familial issues is spot on, and the arc he goes through in the movie is actually quite similar to the arc he went through in the comics. Sure, it's a completely condensed and child-friendly version of those events, but
It's accurate and pieced together in a much more coherent and cohesive narrative. Bruce lost his family at a young age, which scarred him and made him a loner by chance, only for that chance to later become his choice. It was only after years of being the Dark Knight that he was able to become part of a dynamic duo, and then later become the head of the Batman family. What I love about this parody is that it accurately adapts the Caped Crusader, but it does so and plays it for laughs. The changes to the character are mostly minor, small tweaks to make the character more comedic. They don't really change all that much. They just repurpose and redirect certain aspects of the mythos. Little adjusting needed to be made. They just took the comics and the characters and they put them in a new genre. Essentially, it's just observing the mythos under a different light. And as strange as it sounds when talking about satire, I mean it when I say Zach Galifianakis' Joker may actually be one of the most comic-accurate clowns ever put to the screen. The Joker is driven solely by his obsession with his nemesis. He doesn't do bad things to gain fortune and infamy. He does it to get under Batman's skin. The Joker wants Batman's attention. And even more so here, he really wants his disapproval. He's desperate for any sort of validation from the Caped Crusader. The Joker views himself as Batman's other half, an integral part in his story, whereas Batman rejects all of his adversaries' advances. The depiction of the Batman-Joker dynamic here is sheer brilliance, because their relationship is treated as if it's an actual relationship. So much so that Joker treats Harley as if she's merely his accomplice, as he sets his sights on the world's worst detective. Harley seems less like his girlfriend and more like his, well, girlfriend. It's a very valid depiction of the actual dynamic between these two. Harley, despite being the Joker's significant other, is always an afterthought to him. She's a henchman and an accessory to his crimes, whereas Batman, in a weird way, is sort of the apple of Joker's eye. His hyperfixation, the most important part of his life. This movie showcases that and plays it for laughs. It's not even really that much of an exaggeration of the source material. If anything, it's just now granted a punchline. Everyone who was involved in putting this part together understood the assignment. From the planning to the performance, this is perfection. On the subject of the Joker, throughout the movie he refers to the rest of Batman's rogues gallery as lesser-than villains. And while that may be true for names such as Condiment King and Quilt Man, this roster of rogues still includes the likes of Catwoman, Penguin, Bane, and Mr. Freeze, who are all some pretty major Batman villains. Whether intentional or not, this could be taken as a pretty accurate commentary on how writers treat Batman's villains. Despite the fact that he has one of the largest, both in terms of quality and quantity, rogues galleries, all of these baddies become secondary to the Clown Prince of Crime, time and time again. Barbara Gordon is probably one of the characters who's most tampered with in this. As opposed to becoming Batgirl, or later Oracle, she fills in as her father's replacement, the second coming of Commissioner Gordon. While that's usually the route less traveled with the character, it is in fact a route that has been traveled with her both before and after this movie. The character is Lego Batman's love interest, which yet again is the route less traveled with the character, but still a route that has been traveled prior. And that is not a trip I like taking. While I don't love the direction of the character for Barbara Gordon, I can't deny that this take on the character worked best for the story that this movie was trying to tell. And that probably matters more. Of course, with that being said, Rosario Dawson is also playing the character, so I find it exceptionally hard to hate. And Dawson herself is no stranger to animated DC projects, as she's previously voiced Wonder Woman on several occasions. Michael Cera portrays Robin, and given that they were going for a campier version of the character, yeah, this is also perfect casting. Could very easily see the actual actor in a Burt Ward Boy Wonder type role. He's good-hearted, well-meaning, and incredibly naive. Ralph Fiennes plays Alfred, and I could just as easily see him playing the part in person. It's kind of a head-scratcher how no one has ever cast him in the role before. Strangely enough, he portrays Alfred in this movie, a character he probably should have played in live action, but hasn't. But he doesn't play Lego Voldemort, a role he did play in live action. So, yeah, wrap your head around that one. Even the more minor roles are played expertly by major players. Jenny Slate makes for a good Harley Quinn, Adam Devine is great as the Flash, And having Jonah Hill and Channing Tatum reunite as Superman and Green Lantern is an inspired choice. And now that I think about it, in that same respect, Will Arnett and Michael Cera are also reuniting as they previously played family members before on Arrested Development. Conan O'Brien taking on the role of the Riddler is a welcome addition to his DC acting resume. And Hector Elizondo has previously played Bane in Batman the Animated Series, while here he's playing former Commissioner Jim Gordon. Though Mariah Carey as the mayor confuses me a little bit. Despite the movie being meant for laughs, it actually does develop the character, and it shows the importance others have on the life of Batman. Batman shows some serious growth throughout the runtime, learning not only what it means to be a hero, but also what it means to be a friend, a father, and even a son. That's actually kind of adorable, and incredibly wholesome. Not only is this movie fun for the whole family, this is fun for longtime Batman fans and first-time watchers alike. There is so much going on in every single scene. Hell, in every single frame, in every single scene. As a matter of fact, I put together a little montage of some extra Easter eggs I happened to find and thought deserved a little bit more attention.
Oh, and look what else I found. Oh, your wonderful toys.
Just get those wonderful toys.
What about that time with the two boats?
This is better than the two boats.
Though my personal favorite reference in this feature-length compilation probably has to be when Batman and the Joker have their final showdown in a Hall of Mirrors, clearly paying homage to their iconic fights in The Killing Joke and The Dark Knight Returns. Even the small, more minute details I find charming, like having Dick Grayson wear a sweater with robins on it, or when we first see him, he's sitting on top of the giant red R in Orphanage. I'm not even gonna say if I missed anything, because I did. I definitely did. So if you guys found something that I didn't, please let me know in the comment section below. I do read the comments, and I would love to hear about them. I would highly recommend this movie to just about everyone. I think it's a must-watch. It's just some good old-fashioned fun with the Bat brand. And I can tell that this was a project that was made with love. It's hard to judge where this falls in terms of my favorite Batman movies, just for the fact that it's so different from any of the others. With all that being said, if you enjoyed this video and would like to see a video on the Batman Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles crossover, let me know in the comment section below by leaving a comment saying, "Cowabunga!" I was your least favorite YouTuber, Infuso, and I thank you for watching. Hope to see you in the next one.
I am vengeance. I am the night, and that was Infuso. Just remember, if you're not tuning in, then you're missing out.
So, if you like the words that came out of his mouth hole, and you too would like to become a V-generate, don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching, nerds!
And if you're not joining the fun, you're in for one bad day. And you know what they say about having one bad day?
Catch him next time. Same bat time. Same bat channel.